One major area that has to be covered when people talk about quote unquote religion. Does the instructions you practice and receive cause you to obey the Most High? Because, in brief, although there are many languages in this world in different cultures, he has many titles, and it can be pronounced and spoken in those different languages, especially in Hebrew, as well as referring to his son that he sent. The reason why is because the instructions you receive from the teachings, as well as your actions following, it has to line up with being obedient to the Most High, to His will, His ways, His word. So as many as will take different texts, such as the scriptures and the Christians, quote unquote, religion, will try to use it for their own doctrines and their own teachings. Only so many over there on that group, actually seek water baptism and baptism of fire, the baptism of fire, to be officially born again, born of the YHWH, the authentic Holy Spirit. Then the other example too, such as the Hebrew Israelites, the different camps out there, and congregations, only so many of them too want water baptism, and they be born again of water and of fire, to be filled with the YHWH, the authentic Holy Spirit. Because it's shown from front to back of the text, and it's shown to a degree through the apocryphal books too, and referred to by other books that were taken out, the importance of being reconnected with the Most High again. Because there are some books, for example, that pertain to Adam and Eve, where Adam lost his connection when he ate of the fruit, and eventually, through the whole process, he was restored before he passed on and crossed over back into the spirit world, from where he began as a living soul, and this body went back to the dust. Then it goes even into the rest of the Old Testament, referring to here and there to the Greeks, and especially those who use the Old Testament as well as other texts out there, such as the Quran and so forth, and other books. Does it lead you to not only the law that is mistakenly claimed to be done away with, but is still working and effective today, but also the prophets for what they say too? When you read the law and the prophets, even that as Moses was a prophet as well too, in this generation, it was spoken of how a prophet's going to be sent like unto himself. So you have the Old Testament, these many apocryphal books, including the ones that you can find in the King James Version 1611. And when you go through all these apocryphal books, not only does it teach you the many things, including the importance of keeping this law, the Torah, his covenant, because this law is within the covenant. When someone comes to the congregation and decides to agree to the covenant, they get water baptized. And only so many back then were referred to as examples where they were filled, or at least, to say correctly, the Ruach HaKodesh came upon them. And they did many great works and feats as a result. And the prophets referred to where those who are going to be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, they are going to have his law put on their inward parts. His instructions in them, and help them so they're able to be directed by him. A pliable heart instead of a stony heart. As well as light instead of darkness. Because there's plenty of people out in the world, they just do whatever. They think life is just whatever. They're just going to buy. And some people think this is it after they breathe, and whether they get old or they cross over by whatever means. They have yet to realize what's before in front of you is an afterthought. A glimpse, a shadow of what's really going on in the spirit world. The aftermath, as well as the results of the things that's happened over time. And going to be revealed as well too, as time continues on. Also, the Ruach HaKodesh is supposed to not only seal you into the day of redemption, but also the spirit of truth. You're supposed to be taught in all things. You're supposed to learn, have all things brought to your remembrance, and be guided into all truth. See, when you go into the New Testament and you read about the promise that is talked about through the Son, because the Father sent his Son so that not only just his people, but also anyone else who wants to keep covenant and come to it can be restored back unto the Father who's in heaven. So when you have opportunity to read from front to back, and perhaps apocryphal books too, as well as to go back and revisit parts of the Old Testament and New Testament, even though there are areas where, by the penmanship of certain people, by mistakes, as well as evil intentions, they have sought to corrupt it. The Old Testament and the New Testament, they agree. in this one book. You can't separate the two and try to make a separate so-called faith with the Most High based off cherry picking the book. When you are born again and you read that book is supposed to be opened to you, especially those who go into prayer before they read. That way the book is open. It's no longer veiled, covered. You actually read the book and you realize, hey, I didn't notice that over here and that over there. And sometimes you'll be going through your day after reading too, and at some point it clicks, it makes sense what you was reading. And even something that's been weeks, months, years past, certain parts of the book itself will become more clear and make more sense. Because the word is so vast, you can read it and reread it. And when you get proper understanding as well as wisdom, and to comprehend what you're reading too, it makes even more sense and it's more rich, giving more information than you can expect from the surface level. Now the problem is there's all these distractions out here that's been set up through all these generations. Since Adam, there's been all sorts of evil that's transpired in the world, as well as different forms of distractions, plots, and things that have been the same tricks, nothing new under the sun. So all these so-called religions, you could take Cain for example. Cain had the do-it-yourself religion kit. And I'm quoting from a well-known preacher who either came up with that or he quoted from somewhere else and thought that was good, so he had to share it in one of his messages. So when it comes to people being pulled away from the proper instructions that the Most High gave unto Adam, and then Adam's supposed to pass it down to his descendants, and then they after themselves as well too, so that they not only know what to do while they're here on earth, but also to know the Most High. And so in the whole process of time, all these different ideas have come forth, and the adversary who hates humanity so much with a passion has sought occasions, many as possible, to usurp, overthrow, and bring humanity into bondage and destruction, so that he can mock the Creator to his face and think he's going to win. When in the Word it shows that his Word, the Father's Word, is going to return back unto him complete. So as much as you have all these different books out here, as well as versions of the text, the consideration has to be made. All these different type of religions that have been brought forth and made, where you're at now and where you're going to next when it comes to your spiritual walk? Is it leading you back to the Father? Is it keeping you on the straight and narrow path? Is it drawing you closer to the Father and helping you go into perfection? Because the one thing that is major and it gets left out, and when you reread and consider, it makes it very clear. Not only your speech, your thoughts, and your actions, but also the thought and intent of it too. Do these reflect in you loving the Father who is in heaven, in the Shemayim? And is it causing you to love your neighbor as yourself? And this is not how people like to put it, where they want to say the person next door of their house. There's all sorts of neighbors, such as those who are born again in the faith, and there are different parts of the road as it is. And there's still plenty of people who have yet to come to the faith and want to know about the faith so that they can be reconciled back into the Father. And as much as it has to be communicated, these different devices of the adversary called religion in its different flavors that cause one to go off into idolatry and go contrary to the will of the Father, as well as His word in His ways, such as Christianity that professes the Son but disobeys the Father, showing how little love they have for the Father. As well as you have the other group out here that's becoming mainstream. And here's the thing, because of agents of the adversary, those who are submitted to the adversary, and those fallen ones that were kicked out of the kingdom of heaven, out of the heavenlies. So those angels that were kicked out because of their rebellion and war against the Most High, they have their agents, those submitted to them. And there's all these different type of groups of them out there, such as the Freemasons, the Illuminati and the such, and all the different types of Satanists. Those who are openly Satanist and those who are discreetly under the radar type of Satanist. Those who think they are doing the right thing by doing evil, as well as those who intentionally creep in unawares, desiring to do evil. So, for example, of these type of groups, Freemasons have been known to infiltrate all these different so-called quote-unquote religions, such as Louis Farrakhan infiltrating Islam. Then you have many type of Freemasons and the such who infiltrated Christianity. And then you have other type of other groups of Freemasons, such as Prince Hall Freemasons, who are basically second-class Freemasons, who have infiltrated the awakening, it's what they call it, the revival, where all these people who are melanated, as well as different shades and hues and ratios of melanation in mixed people of different nationalities among different nations are starting to find out that the scriptures is really speaking to them. And those ministering the word from the scriptures are being used to communicate to them. So there are some here out there in the world who know that they are from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Their ancestors, especially on the father side of the family, have been Hebrews through the lineage of Israel from one of his 12 sons, the patriarchs, for example. Then there are those who they have it in them where they desire to become part of the faith. And so those who are genetic Israelites, as well as those who have the character of being an Israelite and didn't even know it, as well as those who are drawn to the faith and they connect with it, they get with it, or they, in other words, can get with it, because in this law, it instructs to learn of him and to be perfect. So the people are supposed to learn of his ways and to improve so that they grow and keep growing until they lack in nothing. Because how you was made and how you were equipped and how you function, think, and process thought too, including those who are born again. This word, the scriptures itself, along with the books that's been taken out and are being discovered and applied, is supposed to help prepare you and equip you so that you are able to function in the kingdom when he brings it down and sets it here on earth. The new Jerusalem on the new mountain, formed without hands, as shown in 2nd Ezra. And here's the other thing too. Another area that gets left out that helps believers as well as those who come and may be drawn to the faith is not only just salvation itself, meaning those who can help them be water baptized and help them go into prayer and seek the baptism of the Ruach HaKodesh, the authentic Holy Spirit, but there's also healing as well as deliverance from evil spirits. These other areas have to be considered too, because there's just weights and there's just balances when it comes to this. There's physical work and needs, and there's spiritual work and needs as well. And seeking to make an unjust balance and cause other people to neglect one and leave the other undone, that's not fitting in the sight of the Most High, because there's so much to be done. And one of the cunning devices of the devil, and two, that seeps in, is the adversary has managed to use large numbers of people to try to keep them deceived and to use them to deceive others, to think they can do one and leave the other undone. to keep those who are in the faith and come into the faith from being perfected and being equipped by the Father who's in heaven, by the Most High. And then there's the other area too where these inventions that's been brought out over time, such as the cell phone, the internet, as well as the TV set, to communicate and receive information, believers can instruct one another and then reach out to one another so that they not only know about the physical things, so that their needs are taken care of, but also the spiritual needs too. So say, for example, someone who's born again and they're growing and learning, they may want to participate in the spiritual works and be taught how to apply those too. Because this area of the faith is an unfolding process. There's people who are skilled in different areas of prayer, healing, as well as spiritual warfare and deliverance, and the such. And being able to reach out to one another to communicate, learn, and be better prepared, and a help unto the body, as well as those who have a need and may be drawn to the faith as well too. It's supposed to be flowing through the body. And what's happened is because of all these different things raised up by the devil to distract believers, such as how to pronounce the name of the Father, pronounce the name of the Son, as well as all these different denominations and all these different religions that have been invented to distract humanity and lead them astray. It's keeping people from applying the scriptures on the levels that they need to, as well as to teach and share and instruct one another so that they can be more perfect, more thoroughly prepared, so that they lack in nothing. Because it's mentioned too in the letters where, by this all men shall know that you are my taught ones, by the love you have for one another. So again, where you're at being taught and where you're going to and being taught in, is it leading you to love the Father, the Most High? And is it leading you to love your neighbor as yourself? Because the gifts that He gives unto the body, they work by love. If you can love Him and love your neighbor as yourself, then those spiritual gifts that He gives, they're going to flow through those members who are submitted and be useful to His will. And it's more beneficial when they learn from one another and teach one another. So that they're not stuck in certain areas and have to go without certain areas of the ministry. That way, humanity could be restored back unto the Father, their Creator, Yahweh, Elohim.